Welcome to Boomhauer69's channel, and today I wanted to do a video on an article that was recommended to me through Google, and it caught my eye, and it's about a topic that I really enjoy learning about, and the article is on the CNET website, CNET.com news website, and I thought I would read the article, and then at the end give my thoughts on it. And I'll also put a link in the description to the article so you can click on it and read it yourself, because I'm hard of hearing, so sometimes my voice will sound kind of funny from being hard of hearing, and it might be a little tricky for people to follow along, but then I like to put the article link in the description so they can click on it and read it for themselves and think about their thoughts on it as well. It says, leave the generators and take the power stations home. This is about generators and power stations. It says, leave the generators, take the power station. Battery power stations make a compelling argument to replace generators in many cases. A new breed of large portable batteries that are encrusted with household outlets and USB ports and touted ports are touted, T-O-U-T-E-D, as the next generation of electric generators. Even thought they don't generate electricity at all, call them power stations. Here's why they're getting attention from people who want power away from the grid, meaning people who go off grid, kind of like Amish and people who just simply don't want to use regular electricity, whenever planned or not, without the fuel emissions and pull cords of gas generators. Yes, I know that can be tricky at times, trying to pull a ripcord on a gas motor. If you can make the charge time work in your intended use scenario, these might be your modern alternative to compact generators. I spent some time with two excellent power stations examples like the ones we continuously rank on CNET's best portable power station list, which is a hyperlink there, the Jackery Explorer 1500 and the Anker A-N-K-E-R Anker Powerhouse 800. The Jackery unit, I've heard of the Jackery, never heard of that Anker Powerhouse. The Jackery unit is about twice the capacity and twice the price of the Anker product, and as such, they are aimed at different use cases. A look at essential power stations specs will make it clear what you need. And they have a picture here of a Honda generator, the Jackery, and that little powerhouse Anker. It says watt hours, the watt hours, WH, is the best single metric for the runtime of power stations. A 500 watt-hour power station can deliver 500 watts for 1 hour or 1 watt for 500 hours, or any combination thereof. With a caveat, C-A-V-E-A-T, I'll explain next. Also, take the watt-hours rating of a power station and assume you only get 85% of that to be safe. Here are some rough examples of household power's needs so you can practice your watt-hour math. A 55-inch LCD TV, 150 watts. That's how much a TV takes in power. A large laptop charger, 100 watts. A 100-watt equivalent LED light bulb, 8 watts. Desktop computers, 250 watts. Space heaters, 750 or 1500 watts. Wattage is the simpler sibling of watt hours. Wattage is the simpler sibling of watt hours and represents the maximum wattage a power station can deliver on a sustained basis, regardless of how long it can deliver it. For example, a power station that can deliver 500 watts can easily power both the TV and laptop charger above, but can't come close to powering space heaters and might strain to run the TV, desktop, and laptop. TV, desktop, and laptop. Add up the wattage of all the devices you need to run at once and make sure your power station can deliver it with a 15% cushion. Note that power consumption of a device may express in amps. Multiply those by household current, 115 volts, to get an approximate of watts. This is the monetary surge of power where some devices need when starting. The most notorious example of being refrigerators, which can deem 4 to 5 times as much power to intentionally start their compressors as to run them. If you plan to run something with a good size motor in it, verify its surge power demands and buy a power station that can cover that without shutting down to protect itself from overload. Yes, that's very important. If you overload a battery power station, you can do some major damage to not only the item you have plugged in but also the battery and so forth, and even could cause overheating and possibly a fire, if you're not careful. Number of AC outlets is important because enough can keep you from needing a messy plug strip. Power station excel at being a tidy package, so it would be a shame if that's hampered by the lack of one more built-in outlet. It says here of this picture down below, it says this 778 watt-hour Anchor power station is compact but boasts a lot of power outlets from several forms of USB to automotive 12V and household outlets. And automotive 12V meaning cigarette lighter DC adapters, I always called it a cigarette lighter port. Choose Shine Wave's power refers to the quality of the power coming from the AC outlets. True Sine, SINE wave power refers to the quality of the power coming from the AC outlets. Power stations that deliver true sine wave power best approximate commercial utility current and can feed dedicated electronics what they want to run right. USB quick charge technology. While any USB port on a power station will deliver a basic charge, there are two main quick charge technologies, QC and IQ, also available on many of them. Having the kind that your phone or tablet can take advantage of will ensure a fast charge from your power station without having to plug in a USB charger into it. AC charge time. This is usually the fastest way to charge a power station, assuming you have grid power. Meaning you're connected to the power lines and the power company. You have grid power to connect the wall charger to, but expect the charge between power stations of similar watt-hour capacity to be about the same. Solar compatibility. Look into the solar charging ability of any power station, and you will consider, especially if you intend to use one. Look into the solar charging abilities of any power station you consider, especially if you intend to use the device as a camping accessory or as a backup for multi-day blackouts, meaning power outages and so forth. Solar charging can be a big equalizer between power stations and gas generators if you're concerned about the long deployments. And down here it has the pictures of jackeries with their USB, their solar panels. And under this picture it says jackeries offer several options to solar charge its Explorer 1500 power station. A single panel will charge the device in 16 hours. Dual panels can do it in about 8 hours. 4-hour panels in as little as 4 hours. Price per watt hour is a good apples to apples comparison of value, but should be very roughly $1 per watt hour of capacity of MSRP. Size and weight. Battery-based device gets heavy in a hurry when you scale up the watt hour capacity, and no power station can avoid that rule of lithium ion battery physics. Don't buy a massive power station you won't lug around when a smaller one could cover your needs and actually get used. Warranty length. By their nature, power stations tend to sit a lot and get used a little, so a long warranty is key. Even 24 months may only cover a few uses. Once you get your head wrapped around the power station specs, you may find that you don't need a gas generator at all. Okay, at all, yep. That's about Sony there. But yeah, my thoughts on the on this article about the generators, comparing gas generators to power stations. Personally, my thoughts is, as a kid, I grew up out in the country. I know what it's like being out in the country and having no power. Remember when a storm comes and it knocks down power lines and you're out for a couple of days. I know how that is because I lived it before. And I grew up poor where we didn't have no generator whatsoever. But yeah, my thoughts is on power stations and generators is, I personally, from what research I have done in the past and what I know about those battery power stations is, I actually personally tend to kind of like them more than gas generators. Because again, you got to remember with gas generators, if you don't have enough fuel for them, I know they make generators that run on propane, I think even diesel and gasoline, and I'll just use since they got Honda gasoline is the most common generator a lot of homeowners going to have. Now, those gas generators are great, but if you don't have enough gas for them, then they're going to be kind of useless. And they can be also kind of hard starting, You have to pull the ripcord, choke them, and it can sometimes be a nuisance. And if it's an older one that sat around for a long time, it could be quite, tricky to get it to start and run, I've been around gas generators before. I knew people who had them. And that's one thing I kind of like about the battery power stations is they're more simple to use, and on top of that, you can charge them up through solar. So as long as you got enough sunlight and stuff, you can have the thing charged and running. Where if you run out of battery power, you can just plug in the solar panel and recharge it. As long as you got a nice bright sunny day, you can pretty good charger. And some of these power stations, you can even use them while they're charging too, I know. And that's what I like about them is you don't really, with those, you don't gotta mess around with big loud motors and messy gasoline and trying to make sure, okay, do I got enough gasoline to last me this power outage or whatever the case may be? Because, if you're in an area where there's a power outage and you ain't got enough gasoline, you're going to have to probably travel quite a bit to go get gas if your local closest gas station is out of power. And so my thoughts on this is I tend to, as from what I learned, about battery power stations is I tend to kind of like them more now after more learning about them, more than gasoline generators. Now, here's the thing. When that Jackery power station breaks down, or that battery power station, it breaks down where it won't work, it finally gives up the ship, as I call it, where you just gotta throw it out and get a new one. That's one of the downfalls is you can't really get it repaired. You have to go out and buy a new one. With a gasoline generator, you can obviously, if it's broken down, you can go get parts for it and get it fixed. That's one positive. You can usually, most gas generators, you can find parts for them and repair them and make them go for a couple more years or whatever the case may be. Now, these power stations, the way they work, from my understanding, is once they give up the ship and they stop working and the battery completely dies after a long time, the battery completely just quits working, and then you gotta throw it and get a new one. Because those battery power stations, you gotta remember, you gotta really pay attention to how well you keep and maintain the battery. Because if you don't properly charge the battery right and stuff, then they go to poop and they're worthless, and you really gotta, I know with those, pay attention to how you store it, how you store the battery and how you charge up the battery, and I know you don't want to go below on some of those a certain percentage or you'll wreck the battery, because the battery has, they call it like something like cycles, like so many cycles, and then the battery is just officially junk. Like you might get 500 cycles on it. And that means, cycles, from my understanding of batteries, means when you have completely drained the battery and stuff, and trying to recharge it from completely dead, you only get so many cycles out of the battery, and then after a while it'll finally go broke. And that's one downfall. But with gasoline generators, of course, you can get parts for them, repair them, and they'll go a long time, But to me, as these power stations more kind of advance and more companies make them, I think pretty soon solar power stations will make the gas generator probably obsolete in the near future. That's something I kind of think, but because and even now generators are kind of like that, kind of almost getting to be that outdated thing. Like, why would you have that? And the thing is I personally kind of like the power stations for the fact that you can plug in solar panels and charge through the sun. I thought when I get some funding sometime, I want to get something like that, and that's what I think. I personally kind of think these battery power stations are the way to go, and in a lot of ways, and I know they make cheap Chinese junk ones to real good quality. Like there's one I know of that's really good brand called the Blue Eddy, and then of course the Jackery is a pretty good brand. Now I don't know about this Anchor Powerhouse. I don't know anything about that. I just first heard about that. I don't know much about that one, how good a brand it is, but the Jackery and Blue Eddy, from what I've seen, are pretty good brands. So I would say, yeah, I would almost go with just, if I needed an alternative backup system for a power outage, I would go with a battery power station and get some good, decent solar panels that you can set up in a nice sunny day and charge up. Because that's one thing you gotta remember with solar. It all depends on how good of a sunlight you're getting. Because if it's kind of a cloudy day, you're not gonna be able to charge worth a darn. But if you got a nice bright sunny day, oh, you'll be able to charge one of those things right up pretty good, And it also depends on what size of solar panels you get, how many wattage. Like if you get 200 watt solar panels, 100 watt solar panels, But yeah, my thoughts is I think these battery power stations are the way to go. That's just what I think, and from what research I've been doing, I think they're a great product. Where down the line they'll be even better, where they'll basically put the gas generators out of business almost. Because with gas you gotta have fuel for it, and if you don't know how to properly store the fuel it takes, that can be a problem too when trying to start and run it, and so yeah, and two, gas generators are really loud, but they are pretty powerful. But now with these power stations and every company trying to make them, they're making ones that are just as powerful as a gas generator as well, Granted, gas generators are still a little bit more the powerful ones, but yeah, to me, I think from what I've been researching, I think solar power stations are the way to go. And nowadays, they're even making these special little like cooler type things that you can run off these little power stations that don't take a whole lot of wattage like a refrigerator. Now, the thing with a gas generator though is some of them are so powerful you can even power your whole house, your refrigerator, and everything. And with these battery power stations, they're gonna, to do that, to power your whole house and to run your big giant refrigerator and certain appliances, it's gonna cost more to buy than versus a gas generator that is gonna be a lot cheaper. But it all too boils down to what truly is your needs. From my personal needs and stuff in the stuff, I would say a portable power station solar setup would be perfect for me. Again, I wouldn't really need a gas generator. It all depends on what your needs are and what you as a person think you need. Now, gas generators, they're big and you can power your whole house with them and stuff, and your big refrigerators with these jackeries and some of these portable power stations. You may not be able to do that unless you have a big old one, and some of those can cost in the thousands, and you might not be able to afford it, where you can probably get a gas generator that can power your whole house for a lot less cheaper. So it all boils down to what is your personal needs. What do you truly need a backup power station for, whether it's a gas generator or a jackery power station or whatever. But for my needs personally, I would say a battery operated power station with solar panels would do me just fine. Yeah. And again, I'm not very well educated on some of this stuff. I've just been doing a little bit of research on it as I go along and stuff. And since I'm kind of getting into this sort of topic, I thought I would do this article about. But yeah, comment below what your thoughts are on this sort of stuff. Comment down below what your thoughts on this article and what kind of power stations, generators have you used or whatever, and if you like more of this content, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I hope you all have a good day, and thank you for watching.